are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Was that a little choppy for you? Was it freezing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's weird.
Listen, things happen.
Yeah.
I'm hearing my echo. I gotta have you start wearing headphones.
Nah, I'm not a headphone person. The only time I really wear headphones is if I'm meditating or on a plane.
I'm like obsessed with audio. We're working on this project, this like ASMR project, and so I'm learning all about every single audio aspect. Very visual, but I don't like sound. But
Funny,
oh my
Anik
gosh,
is saying.
so much.
Anik says she hears an echo too.
It's better.
Better now.
It automatically turns down my microphone.
It's better now. Okay, good. I
She's
feel like
yelling.
the internet. Yeah, I can hear she's in the next room. Internet seems sketchy a little bit. It seems, I don't know, choppy. Anyways,
Does
welcome
the snow
to
matter?
our.
Does snow affect all that?
Not at
Oh,
all.
okay.
It only goes out. Typically, internet's only down when power goes out.
Yeah. We get enough wind over here. Wind will knock down everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have all above ground power lines.
Same with us.
Yeah.
Us, it's the wind. Us, what happens is the ice gets on the trees, and then the trees kind of start to lean, and then the wind knocks the trees right over into the lines.
How often does that happen? Do you have a generator?
2 or 3 times a winter. Yeah, I haven't used it in 3 years. The longest we've gone without power, I think, is like 5 days.
That's terrifying.
5 days. I don't know. I don't.
I would shrivel. I would send me back to the caveman days.
Yeah, we've got a propane stove and a propane fireplace, so like even without power, we're still all good.
I keep obsessing Andy Williams. I keep waking up with the Andy Williams "Most Wonderful Time of the Year" song in my head. Okay, you know the song?
Yeah.
Sing it for you. Okay, so but they're talking about scary ghost stories. Have you ever told a scary ghost story for Christmas?
I was never into ghost stories.
Has anyone ever told a scary ghost story? This is like some generation lost. I must know about this scary ghost story. I want a scary ghost story for Christmas.
Yeah, I never.
No, nothing ever. No one's ever had a scary ghost story. I want it. It's infected my brain. Like I can't even imagine. What are they? They're scaring everyone. Everyone's getting spooked.
Yeah, I can't imagine a story even being scary. I don't know, but that's just me. How's everybody doing today? We got 20-some people signed in so far.
I want to know about scary ghost stories. Come on, someone's got to hear one. Yeah, you started telling me all about your thing. I want to hear all that.
What thing?
Buying golf courses. You're buying golf courses. You're wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no public announcement yet today. We're still kind of in the negotiation part, but we're waiting to hear back from the sellers to see. But this is something I've been seeking for. We've been looking for over 2 years.
Yeah, just as far as like the avalanche of like support, like you said.
Yeah, so I'll fill everybody in on what I was telling Nick before the call. And by the way, today's School of Expansion drop content is a meditation / activation for calibrating to deeper levels of support. And for me personally, what's happened is, and that drop content went live about an hour ago, by the way. So for me, I think about 3 weeks ago, Source told me through Anik channeling that my next level would come once I calibrate it to deeper levels of allowing support. And for me, I've always been very good at tuning into ease, and I never associated or never consciously realized that there was so much of a difference between ease and support. And since I've been calibrating to support, and it's probably been about 3 weeks now, I've had like major health shift with this digestive enzyme that I've been taking, which has been revolutionary for me, which is supporting my physical body in a new, beautiful, amazing way. Business opportunities have been showing up like with massive potential through a new network of support. And then this forest playground, which I've been seeking for over 2 years. I checked yesterday. The first property we looked at what was it, 2 years and 2 months ago. That may be coming to completion today. We've got an offer out. And it's the nicest property we've looked at by far, and it's only 10 minutes from here. So it's like, since I've been practicing and calibrating more intentfully to support and feeling supported and noticing support, there's just been this avalanche of things happening in physical reality, which has been mind-blowing.
So I'm curious, like, how do you decide on the word? Like, did support come to you, or you completely...
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly. I think they said that like support was an aspect of it. So feeling support, calibrating to support. I think a lot of people feel a feeling of unsupport. How many people here feel like they're like 100% fully supported by the people around them? Growing up as a child or as a teenager, did you feel supported by your parents and your siblings and your friends? Or did you feel like they were trying to tell you what to do or push you in different directions than what you wanted?
So did you feel like a lack of that thing? Like you felt lack? Because when I think of the word, it's a whatever word.
Yeah, not consciously. So I didn't feel unsupported until I did like kind of some deeper work. So again, it's like a lot of these vibrations or negative emotions that we practice, we've been practicing them for so long that we're not even consciously aware that they're there, that almost like background noise, right?
Sure.
So for me, doing this extra level of calibration to support, doing some inner child work, making and allowing my inner child to feel fully supported no matter what they want it to do, really created this massive shift.
Yeah, I keep playing with that because you talked about it and Nick talked about it, like that feeling unsafe, like that, like to dive into that feeling of unsafeness, like where it's
Yeah.
coming from, right?
And that was part of it. Like, it's not safe to be supported because a lot
Right.
of people feel like, well, it's not safe to accept support and be vulnerable to accept support because if I do, then maybe I owe that person something, or maybe I'm now on the hook with that person, or there's negative expectations. So it's not just about feeling supported, but it's like being willing and fearlessly accepting support.
Yeah, even it was for me, it was things that like I definitely wanted. And so I would still play with that. Okay, it's not safe to feel that because, and then, two different things like actually had little triggers to them. Not everything, but like it's like, oh, I didn't even think. I just thought it was in line with that.
Totally. And those little triggers, every little trigger pinches off that receptivity pipe just a little bit more, right? So it's important to work through that stuff.
And so like you're working through it is just sitting with the feeling, or how do you work through it?
I would say I did one good clearing session, and then the rest of the time I spend like half an hour in like a meditative state, calibrating and feeling and noticing all of support that's available in my reality.
So you cleared it out and then you're like just ramping up the feeling because now it feels like support is fully supported.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So can you go us through the clearing process? Take us through the clearing process?
So what I did is I did the still point meditation, which is in the School of Expansion recordings, and I found I set my intent to feel my body for where is there a feeling of support not being safe
Okay.
or unsupported, and then when I identify those pieces, I expand it, and then you find that version, that child version or whatever age feels relevant to that vibration or that energy, and then you go and have a conversation and soothe them and show them, kind of invalidate the lack of support. So that's kind of what the clearing process looked like for me.
And then you go through it and you say, oh, is that pain shifted or that feeling shifted or okay.
Yeah, and it almost always does. So there's no need to like kind of go back through it, even though it's not a bad idea. But for me, I can tell when something shifts.
Right. Is it ever like for me, it's always like somewhere in the center. Like, do people feel things on one side or another?
Sometimes I think most people it's head
Yeah.
and,
Chest,
and like
back,
chest and back. Yeah.
or like lower back or stuff like that.
Yeah. Lower back, it's often things like powerlessness.
Okay.
So it depends on what the emotion is as well.
Yeah, I'm just curious if like anyone's ever had like a left shoulder pain.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I've got the
Yeah,
anatomy book here somewheres that maps all that stuff out.
yeah. It's just curious through your whole thing. I didn't feel unsupported, but it was encouraged or empowered. I allowed myself to believe in pressure applied on me to have some sort of have to sort out
So
myself out. Yeah, I can't read that. Dependent on people. Yeah. Weak or not
yeah,
enough. Well, how do you deal with weak or not enough?
same thing.
Yeah.
So that, and not enough. That's probably not good enough is the most common I've seen over the years. And it's about asking yourself, I feel that way because, right? And
Okay.
then when you get your answer, you invalidate it. So if you say, I feel like I'm not good enough because dad said so, right? And when you're 5 and you hear your dad say, make you feel like you're not good enough, you buy into it, right?
Yeah.
And then you hold on to that, not realizing it. So, like, you need to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And then you can reframe. So, is your dad the authority on who is or who isn't good enough? Of course not. So, you can give
Right.
yourself permission to let that go. And then once you clear it for yourself, then you can go back to that child version of you and show them the truth that they absolutely are good enough.
So as like a parent, do you find yourself like stopping yourself like before you like I don't want to mess my kids up.
Yeah, I mean, you try,
Yeah.
right? I'm not consciously trying to project any kind of negative emotion onto my kids.
Right.
Um, I remember when Anderson was younger, he would have, when he was 4, he would have a typical 4-year-old temper tantrum. And when he got angry about something or have a tantrum about something, I wouldn't punish him for it. I would say, okay, you feel angry. That's okay. You're allowed to feel angry. You sit over here and you be angry as long as you want. And I'll be over here playing Legos. And when you're done being angry, you can come play with me.
Right.
So, like, instead of invalidating emotions, I think growing up, a lot of our parents, um, taught us you shouldn't feel that way and don't feel that way and suck it up and all this stuff, which is not acknowledging, your emotional guidance system.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if with the older ones I do any of that. It's so surprising. Like my daughter left out her thing today, and it was like just this checklist, this to-do list, and it's like, where did that come from? Like that's very much in me, and I mean, outside of them maybe seeing it, but it's never been like you should do this. My son, the older one, the 11-year-old, he came up, he's working out, he's doing all this stuff, and it's like, oh, they must. It's either just in them or they
I think
see it.
so. And like I see the difference between my two kids where, one of them is very like into this stuff and health oriented and like wants to do good in school. And the other one is like, no, I just want to hang out with my friends and I don't care about school. I'm just going to do what I want.
Do you notice yourself in both of them? Like, for that specific
In,
aspect, or
in
is it
different aspects of myself in the two kids. Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think when I really it's just wild to see, like, them develop like that, and then I don't wanna mess it up, I don't wanna give them
You can't
complexes.
you can't mess it up, right? So
Right.
as a parent, they chose us not because we're the parent that is going to give them the most lucrative and easy life. They chose us because we're going to provide them with the expansion experience that they came here looking for.
Yeah, that's great. How was your how was your life growing up? Like, all good, right?
I mean, everybody's got their own definitions of good, bad, contrast, not contrast. I never had any like major traumas or anything like that.
Yeah, I would wonder, like, in this space, how many people do have, like, major trauma like that? I suppose. I mean, you're dealing with it.
I would say it's a
Practice
mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, like, so foreign to me, like, life was nice. I got in trouble for certain things, but nothing crazy, so I was just wondering how we all got to this same position.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's background was much different than mine. She got in way
Yeah.
more trouble than I did. Um, but we both turned out pretty good. So I think
Yeah.
everybody's path is different. It's whether you allow yourself to grow and expand from your path or not.
I'm constantly catching and correcting any statements like, "Don't feel sad, don't cry, it's okay." I stop and say, "Sorry, it's okay for you to feel your feelings."
Yeah, totally.
So should he not catch his feelings?
I think it's, as a parent, it's this weird balance of like, we don't like it when our kids are hurting emotionally, right? We want our kids to be happy. And there's this balance of, soothing your kids, but not allowing yourself to become dependent on their soothing, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's some parents who bubble wrap their kids, and then if they start crying, like here's a lollipop, and they do whatever they can to stop the kid from crying. Well, what's going to happen when they grow up and you're not around to soothe them anymore?
Right.
So it's, and I think that's just basic, teaching proper emotional, intelligence or guidance or whatever you want to call it.
So what about yourself though? Like if you start thinking about like if you have like thoughts that keep popping in, are you, how much do you catch them and stop them there, or how much do you like let them just play out and like I guess be in them?
I don't feel like I really have a lot of negative thoughts anymore.
Okay.
So like, for example, like my daughter was going to a private school for the last 3 months, grade 9, and all of a sudden they decided to shut down the grade 9 and 10 classes, and like leaving them with no school to go to, basically.
Mm.
And like, there's the part of me, the inner critic part of me, that wants to like, oh my God, this is a disaster, and what are we going to do, and how are we going to solve this, and who do we sue, and like, all these ideas.
Mm.
And then there's the other part of me that's like, no, put all that aside, let her have her experience, understanding that, everything that's happening is happening for us. And for me, it's a lot of letting go, a lot of trusting, trusting and knowing that she's in tune enough to know what path is best for her and where she wants to go, whether it's online schooling or public schooling or whatever else might be manifestable. So I'm really stepping back, and even though she's only in grade 9, I'm really stepping back and giving her the authority to decide for herself.
I would imagine there's lots of things that set that up though, right? I mean, you've got a lot of trust built.
Yeah, well, I
But a
mean,
freshman in high school, so
if I was the version of me that I was 20 years ago, I'd be freaking out, and I
right.
would be trying to call everybody and try to like, force her to do what I think is best for her, rather than being open and understanding that like just because she's younger than me doesn't mean that I know better.
What about even 10 years ago? So what,
A little,
16,
bit
15,
closer, but
16?
I would say it's in the last 3 years that I really learned how to
Sure.
step out of that like potentiality to go into panic mode and try to control reality.
Do you think it's the age of her in that case?
It's just she's just so in tune.
Oh, okay. So it is her.
Like she's so in tune that like I trust her decision making, even though she's made decisions that I roll my eyes at and shake my head. Um, I still love her just the same. I always will, and I'm still learning to support her more and more, regardless of what decisions she makes.
So, like, I'm curious, like, and with Anik in the house, like, how you guys like that relationship? Are you more like, because you're so like, it's not passive, but it's easy, it's relaxed,
Allowing,
right? Allowing.
allow. What the
A-
word
a-
allow?
And so, with allowance, especially in your teaching and all this stuff, does it? Is there a different side behind the closed doors? Not even to say like unveil it, but like I
So,
find myself like definitely the ones I love the most. I'm probably the
so that,
hardest on.
so I think, are you in the chat? Say yes if you're in the chat.
Like the real ball buster.
I think, are you there?
She's gone. She checked
No,
out.
she's not.
We got to get more entertaining.
I'll get Anik to validate, but I'm pretty sure I'm the same. Oh, she says yes. Anik, am I the same person online as I am offline?
No, I think she's saying yes to being a ball buster.
Oh, me being a ball buster? No, I think
Yeah,
she's. Anik, explain.
slave
We're gonna have to
driver.
get. We're gonna have to get her on the show sometime. How many people in the chat would like to see Anik on the show? Yep.
Like a
To what?
third
Yep.
camera.
What's that?
A third camera. I'll just
Oh yeah,
shift me out
we
of
could
it.
add a
I'll
third. We
make
could add a third camera.
myself small. Wait, she's just saying yes. She's saying yes to all this, and now she's
Yep,
laughing.
yep.
We were asking two sides.
She's saying
Yes,
nothing.
yes, yes, yes. Yes, they love it. I don't know what we asked.
Okay, I'll see if I can get a Nick on the show next week.
Oh, everyone wants her in there. She does too.
Yeah, of course.
Get in.
I would want her in there. I spend all my day with her every day, and I still want to hang out with her more.
That's very sweet. I stalled out because I want to find out. I want to find out that you're somehow wicked behind closed doors. Not wicked, but like.
Nick, tell the man that I'm just the same in physical reality as I am in online reality, please.
She won't do it. Yeah. That's funny.
Or if there's some of the people who were in Amsterdam with us, you can drop your 2 words too.
How many people did you have show up in Amsterdam?
Oh, I don't even remember, like 20-ish.
Oh, that's great.
I
That's a
mean,
big party.
we threw the Abraham-Hicks after party had about 150 people.
Oh, no kidding. That's great.
Yeah. I booked out the bar at a hotel, and we got some DJ gear, and we spread word of mouth, telling everybody after the Abraham-Hicks seminar Saturday to come over here, and we're going to throw a big party. And we had about 150 people, which was awesome.
That's so cool.
Nick says, "You pop that on the window.
Yep.
What you see is what you get."
Whoops. Oh, it changed. What you see is what you get. There's no mystery. Nice.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah, I had a switch flip last night. Like, I definitely went into like aggressive work mode. Like, I definitely called upon my past because I was, I painted cars.
But that's not a bad thing.
It was
because if you're excited about what you're doing, there's 2 places, energies to come from it. If you're coming from the energy of like, I need to be aggressive because I need to achieve a goal and I have to be in this effort to get somewheres, that's not the right vibe. But if you're in that vibe because you're just having fun, then that's different.
Yeah. So I needed to like curb it because it went too wild. It started becoming like, I needed to do this. Like I was directing her. Like, I'm like, this has to happen. This has to happen. This has to happen. Right. Like it was very, while I'm solving problems, it was not good, but it did come naturally. It just was a bit much.
Yeah.
And we slept in different beds, I don't want that. I don't want that. I just want all things good.
It is good because if somebody's triggered, then it's showing that person where they're giving their power away and what to work through.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Work through it with me. How do I be like my most Nick self?
I don't know.
Just go with it.
Just go with it.
Just go with it.
Let things flow. Allow the vibration to do the work.
Yeah, there was another moment last night. I was watching Monday night, I was watching something. Oh, basketball. Basketball was on. And I felt like a piece of shit watching basketball just because I should have been doing other things. But right. That's the face, right? But that's how I felt. And so I played with it. Like, what's unsafe about this, right? And I started playing with it. And I started playing with, and I was 21 and working in a bar, and all these people were like essentially losers, but they're also the most fun people ever, right? I shifted to that. And so I was like, well, then tonight's the most fun ever, And then out of that came so much good work that wouldn't have.
Because the quality of the work is always going to match the quality of your vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like flowing with it made such a difference.
Yeah. I mean, look at it like this. Like, I love how Abraham-Hicks says, doing nothing is doing something.
Yes.
Right. So like the 30 minutes I've spent every morning in meditation, calibrating to support, that's completely changed my reality. Like in a massive, like it's up leveled my reality. Like I talked about at the starting of this call. And like, that was 30 minutes of me laying on the couch.
Yeah.
So is that Nick being lazy and Nick not trying to accomplish anything? Or is that Nick being super productive? Right? So old paradigm, efforting people who don't understand vibration and how all of this stuff works would have said, oh, look at Nick laying on the couch. What a lazy bastard.
Sure.
Right?
Or you say it about yourself. Do you say it about yourself?
No, not at all. I never speak negative about myself.
Okay. Ever? Really?
Yeah, no.
Because it is interesting. You always do say like outside person says this. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Nick judged me and said I was lazy. Like
Yeah, I don't.
that's my own internal thing.
So something I've been playing with the School of Expansion Mastery group, and we're doing that on the Mastery call today, is like the concept of fear.
Okay.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, I threw this probing question at them we have a Telegram group for the Mastery students. I said, "Why do you fear?" So let's play you and I. So if I ask you the question, "Why do you fear?" What comes up?
Why I fear?
Why do you fear?
Yeah, it's some like guidance mechanism is the best I can come up with. That's
But why?
what I feel. Why?
But why do you fear?
I mean, like, because I feel all emotions. I don't know what you're getting at with that.
But ask yourself this question. Keep playing with
Okay.
me.
All right.
Why do you fear?
It's just inside. I don't know. It's just there. It's
It's
just
there,
there.
but why do you do it? Why do you fear?
I don't know. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to. I want to
But
be my best self.
that's a what do you fear, not a why do you fear.
Hmm.
So you
No, but
fear messing
I
up.
think it is a guidance system. I think that is the reason for my fear.
Okay.
I'm
But
curious what you're
why
getting at.
but why do you fear?
I can't answer this anymore now.
Exactly. So
Ah,
would you agree that there's no purpose to fearing?
yeah,
Unless you're standing on the edge of the cliff deciding whether to jump off of it or not into a pool,
right,
right? Aside from like physical survival aspects,
right.
is there any purpose to any other type of fear?
No,
And once you understand that, once you really understand that and integrate that,
I
all of
think,
your other fears will begin to dissolve.
yeah, I think there's the really. So is that part of your meditation practice too?
No,
You're not
that's
contemplating that, but
no, that's just one of the ways I torture my mastery students.
oh, gotcha. Mhm.
No, but that's so people, for years when it comes to clearing work, it's been clearing like one fear after one fear, fear of my power, fear of speaking up,
Oh,
fear of doing this, fear of doing that, fear of being my authentic self, fear. And the general approach is to address each of those fears
yes,
one at a time. But people have dozens of fears, right? So instead of conquering every individual fear that a person carries, conquer the notion of fear itself.
that's great.
And once you do that, it eliminates all of the other fears.
Yeah. Are there other emotions that you just can be dismissive about like that?
Theoretically, all emotions.
And so is it a good thing to be dismissive about it? Because I'm calling it dismissive.
Depends on your definition of dismissive, right? I would let's use the word buy into,
Okay.
right? So like to me, dismissive means ignoring an emotion, which is not a good thing to do. You want to process your emotions, their guidance,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But you can get to a place where you don't buy into all of these negative emotions, thus they're no longer active in your vibration.
Right. Yeah. Then
You can only feel unworthy if you buy into being unworthy.
right. Right. The same with positive emotions too. Like I suppose they're never like really a problem.
I guess it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you want to buy into the positive emotions.
Yeah. Do you need the ups for the downs or the downs for the ups?
Something that Wayala said in meditation through Anik is you can only go as high to one end of the stick as you're allowing to go on the other end of the stick.
Right. So is it almost worth ramping up some negative things too?
No.
Okay.
Not unless they're present. The way I see it is the negative side of the coin are things looking to be processed and integrated. The positive side of the coin are things that kind of bring the momentum that you're looking for and elevate your baseline.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I feel like so much of my things were my emotions were sitting rounded and like smoothed out so that I wasn't really. But almost like as I get older, it's like it's okay to feel like wild. That it's almost more beneficial. It's motivating
Yeah,
somehow.
and Nick just said it perfectly. She says the key is to not resist the so-called negative.
Right. Oops. It's going slower. Yeah.
And unfortunately, our base reaction or our default reaction to any negative emotional state is resisting it and pushing against it, and needing to try to solve it through external manipulation rather than just going within and saying, "Hey, what's this trying to tell me about the way I feel?"
Illusion of protection. Fear is false illusion. Yeah. So it's a survival mechanism that we've outgrown.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mostly have fear when it relates to illness, fear of death.
And those are all fears you can still work through.
Yeah. Even though the ultimate, because it is death the ultimate fear.
Not for people who understand that they're infinite beings just having a physical experience.
Sure. So even like consciously understanding it, is it still there? Like the end of this.
I would say like my fear of death is maybe at like 5%, like very minimal, and I can get to a place where I'm totally accepting of it.
Sure. And then, but with that acceptance removes everything, right?
Yeah, totally.
You still, because you wouldn't still, like, to me, like, it's the ultimate. It's if I don't have the fear of death, then there's no fear other than that.
I think it depends on the person. So like somebody might not fear death because they understand the non-physical, but they might fear of being judged because of something that happened in childhood where they were judged and bullied and beat up, maybe.
And that's not like related to death.
Correct.
Okay. I just found like from my experience, I felt like it all flowed downward to the same.
And that can be true for you, right? I think everybody's
okay. Yeah, no, I'm just fascinated in people.
Yeah.
Okay. I acknowledge when a fear comes up and check in if I am in danger or not. When I assess that there's nothing that is making me unsafe, oops, didn't finish the sentence. Fearless when I assess that fear is unwarranted.
And ask yourselves, how often is fear truly warranted? Is fear of being good enough warranted? Is fear of, I don't know, insert any negative emotion, unwarranted?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's really, yeah. If you don't accept it, then yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just where I just want that highs and lows too. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Have a big party.
it's the lows that allow the highs to feel so high.
Right. I don't feel death, but I fear suffering. Okay.
So why fear suffering?
Right. We could only speculate it.
That takes back to that what I said at the start was why fear? Why fear suffering? Suffering is unpleasant. I completely agree. Do I want to be in suffering? Absolutely not. But why fear it?
Yeah. Is it a thing where maybe a physical pain in that? No. I suppose you could just mentally suffer at all times.
Yeah, but why fear it?
No, yeah, right. If you became so adjusted to it, I suppose.
Does fearing it keep you away from it? If anything, it attracts it.
Sure.
So why fear?
Oh, same person, or it's a different person, same thing.
Yeah, it's the suffering, not death.
That's interesting. I've never thought of like suffering. How often does that come up?
I haven't seen it very often.
There's 2 in a row.
Obviously, it's a thing since there's people mentioning it in the chat window.
Yeah, 2 in a row.
Everything is always evolving, right? I don't think anything in reality is permanent.
When I was living in a state of constant peace, fear doesn't exist. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't figure that out. Love and joy. Yeah. It's not needed. You feel, you should go. Yeah. Victim mentality. Do you agree with that?
I'd have to reflect on that one more. I think there's an aspect of maybe you're fearing what you can't control. And if you feel like you can't control, then you feel like a victim. Might be possible. I'll reflect more on that one, but maybe.
Yeah.
Depends on your definition of victim mentality too.
Because it's too broad. Like, yeah, my victim. Yeah.
Because I think some people perceive victim mentality as victim to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to reflect on that one a little bit more.
Let's see.
Like fearing death, I'm trying to associate victim mentality to death. Like if you're dying of old age, are you a victim?
Yeah, right. Or to me, it's like I said, the fear is a guideline. I don't know where my victim mentality is and all that. It feels like just like writing out goals. It's almost the same thing. It's the thing I use as a marker. I don't
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean,
a
I think
victim in that.
in some way it's a guidance to resistance that you're practicing. So a lot of people's fears are actually anchored in the fear of negative emotions.
Yeah.
So like people who self-sabotage relationships, people have relationship resistance. Usually it's fear that it's not safe to be in a relationship. And they'll say it's not safe to be in a relationship because if I do, I'll be hurt. So what they're actually fearing is the emotion of hurt that could happen in a relationship and is something they've experienced in the past.
Is a lot of your, I mean, what's the percentage of your clients that are relationship seeking?
I mean, I don't do a whole lot of one-on-one anymore.
Okay.
But for a while it was probably 80% relationship clients.
Really?
I had a PDF or a Kindle ebook called Single No More. And the 5 relationship archetypes from that book, I think, are in Power Manifesting now. So I've done a lot of relationship work.
Yeah. So when they join your group and stuff, they don't, I mean, I suppose you talk to them all, but you maybe
Oh, yeah,
not
but
hear. Yeah.
we do hot seat calls every month, so they can, if they have relationship blocks they want to work on, that's the place to do it, right? Unless
Yeah.
we're doing one-on-one work, but for most people right now, it's in the live calls that we do clearing work and stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like the most common questions that come up.
Oh, it's all over the place.
Right. It's very specific to, but it all roots back to the same general principles.
Yeah, and the group evolves together. Like it's like Abraham-Hicks, where one person asks something in the hot seat,
Uh,
and most of the audience is having their own question answered too, right?
yeah. False evidence appearing real. There you go.
Yeah, I think that comes from Tony Robbins.
Is it? I always hear it from
I think so.
who was it? It was Gary Busey did it. It's
Oh,
from
really?
Gary Busey. Concrete example. Last couple of weeks, I had muscle twitches all over my body out of nowhere. Watching my mother die very young from ALS has sparked fear that it might have the same. So without being dismissive of the feeling then, because, like she should dive into that, right? So dive into it.
Yeah, allow the fear to surface and process the fear, reframe the fear, work your way out of it.
And there's practical things too, right? I assume if there's actual like pain and actual stuff and actual things, you can seek help. Like
Oh,
Western medicine's great too.
totally.
Yeah.
Right. And like there might be an underlying layer of like feeling unsupported, right? The fear might be there because, oh, if I get sick, I've got nobody to support me. Right. So that's why we call it, when we do the clearing work and we do the belief tree process, the reason it's called the belief tree process is because literally like all of this stuff is kind of like the layers of branches of trees that you work through.
Do you find, I mean, for most things, I could say, with something less serious than death or illness, because to me, I feel like that's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I wouldn't want to ignore a bigger issue. But if I have a fear of like a money thing or a relationship thing, a thing that's not going to put me in the grave, the fear, the eliminating of the fear is probably most of what it takes, right? The clearing it out.
Totally. Like anytime, like let's say Nick and I are talking about something and she is trying to decide on what action to take. I always, the first thing I'll ask is, well, is there any fear there? Because you can't make a 100% clarity decision if there's fear that's kind of clouding the judgment.
Right. How much
So like,
yeah, go ahead.
like if you were invited to give a talk on stage to 1,000 people,
Yeah.
there might be part of you that wants to, but there might be part of you that's afraid. And if that part of you that's afraid is louder than the part that wants to, then that might hold you back from accepting that gig or that event, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you deal with that fear, then you can center yourself to really feel out as to whether it's something you want to do or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that came up last night with the like I said, we were essentially arguing. You know, her and I are working on this project. She's my starlet, you know, what wonderfulness. You know,
Yeah.
I get to be my director self. I get to do everything I want to do. She's my star. And so, you know, there was very real fears. It was like, maybe I'm not ready for this part.
Yeah.
But I know the truth is just right there. You know,
Yeah.
we can get through that. So if I were you, would you breathe through it? Would you do somewhat of a hypnosis or a meditation to eliminate it? Or would you talk it through and like try to clear it out?
I would just sit in it and see what surfaces and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So like it really depends on what's going on inside of you. But like, anytime there's any, dense feeling that's present or negative emotion or fear, you totally want to sit with it and process it.
Okay. Is it a thing where like, okay, she's feeling a fear. Okay, you sit with it. I gotta take off. Or like, because I don't feel very supportive in that situation. And I guess I want to be more supportive. Like you said, your wife's doing this, you know, she's doing all this stuff. You guys, I love your hypnosis thing at the beginning of those sessions. I assume that it came out of that, right? There was some hesitancy to be all of yourself, and you guys worked this process out. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
Yeah, I
like,
mean, her and I are always evolving together, right? So it's
right,
like, that's why our relationship, one of the reasons it's so magical is that like we're not afraid to like call each other out on our bullshit
sure.
and then own it and then work through it.
Okay. So go through that thing. Like, so you do like before she channels is this meditation hypnosis thing, and it's wonderful. It's so
Yeah.
wonderful.
Okay. So here's an example. So tomorrow night, Anik is doing her first ever in-person live channeling
Oh, cool.
for 25 people.
Great.
And we limited it to 25 tickets. It's by donation only. So there's like no pressure on her end. But like I've been gently nudging her to do this for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. And, this aspect of why fear, her and I originally, that came to me as I was helping her with her fears of being on stage in that way in person. Um, so again, like that's what's allowed, it was the why fear concept and working through her. So us working together on her fear of doing a live event, it allowed me to get the inspiration for the why fear, right? That was a download, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
And then that download allowed me to help her shift that to a place where now she's actually doing it tomorrow night. And it gave me that download that I've also been using it with the mastery group students for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I've noticed just being so in the last 2 months, or like I had heard a call with her, like I think you would send it to me maybe 6 months ago. Maybe it was even a year ago. But how far she's like every week is so much better. So it would just be exciting to see, like, so if the live performance is probably going to be really, really, really good, the next one's even get better and better and better. She gets good fast. It's really impressive.
Everything that I've done over the last 5 years, and I'm sure it's the same for her. The more people that show up, the more energy. It's like there's more energy going into the co-creation of it. There's more people part of the co-creation, and then the more magical things get.
Yeah. It's a fascinating thing too, right? Because 25 people, compared to what your live chats on Zoom are, like those are so many more people. But maybe something about being in that You probably feel the energy different too. Being in a
Yeah.
room.
Oh,
Did
totally.
you when you did
Totally.
your things? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Does it feel different versus like a TED stage or the same?
I think
Does it scale?
up to about 25 people, it feels kind of one way. It feels more intimate.
Mm.
I think anywhere from 30 people to 3,000 people, it feels the same.
Okay. That's
Because you go from a bunch of people just right in front of you
yeah.
to like a giant audience of people, right? So it's the
Right.
intimacy level changes once you hit like I would say 30 people or so.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're still essentially, I mean, you're doing all the same stuff, but how much of your stuff is feeding off those 25 people, you know? You're like,
Oh, it's definitely a back and forth,
yeah.
right?
And then
To me, live is more fun because you can be like you can be talking and then you can point to somebody and tell them to say
mhm,
something or ask the or put your hands up. Like the last seminar, it was an evening talk, and I said, how many of you guys want to go deeper on this? How many of you guys want a deeper experience? And then everybody puts their hand up, right? Or I always ask the question, how many people have that deep down feeling that life is supposed to be easier than this? And again, everybody puts their hand up, right? So it allows the audience to see that, like, yeah, you guys are all seeking the same thing, and then, here's the path to that.
did you do like a hot seat type thing or like talk to
No,
them at all?
not that. So that was a presentation called The Pillars to Your Connection to Source,
Yeah.
where I go over, people are less connected to source than they think they are, even spiritual people. So I went over like I think there was 5 or 6 pillars that you need to be looking at and practicing to really nurture and harness a really delicious, strong, consistent connection with your source self.
Yeah. Yeah. How, with the hot seats, you've done hot seat stuff, right? In Amsterdam,
Um,
you did that or
tons
not?
and tons, tons and tons online.
Yeah.
I think my next live event here is going to be hot seats. So it's going to be interesting to see the difference in questions and the difference in conversations between my online groups, which have been going for 5+ years, versus in person, where locally a lot of people know who I am and about me, but I haven't done a whole lot of local seminars, especially in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Would you stage it like an Abraham thing? Would you have it like 15-minute segments or not
With
like that?
Anik, what we're going to do is I'm going to guide everybody through a group meditation
Mhm.
while she connects, because she takes about maybe 2 minutes to connect. And then I'll start things off by like prompting a first question just to kind of get her warmed up. And then we're going to open it up to the audience. That's the same thing we do on our live calls in the School of Expansion.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really good. I was often having situations with no money, having no money to pay. It was a trap situation, but I realized fear. I meditate and relax on the walk and find money on the path.
Yeah, totally. The best thing that's come through recently on the topic of money is that it's all about being in the vibration of circulation.
Okay. Like
So
a
right,
tide flowing in and out.
not only that, but like I know that I'm going to be putting 6 figures down on this beautiful forest playground,
Sure.
and like I feel totally comfortable doing that because I know that it's going to come out and it's going to go out and it's going to go flow right back to me in a exciting and even more expansive and bigger way.
Well, even right, you've exchanged one thing for another. You have now all this land. You know,
Totally.
it still is scary, right? You're spending money on, I don't know. You probably feel the same way buying a car.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah,
Right? But it all comes down to the perception that you're practicing as you step into it, right? Am I losing finances by buying this thing, right? Am I getting closer to zero, or am I simply loaning it out because it's going to circulate back to me?
right,
Right? What feels better, right?
right.
And again, of course, the vibration you're practicing as you spend money is going to dictate which of those two experiences you bring into your reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that like did you ever play that $100 game, that Abraham-Hicks $100 game where you keep that in your
No,
pocket or like
no,
fake spend money?
yeah, no, that's never been my thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to ask, I guess, if there's a big difference between the fake vibrational spending and the real one. To me, like, okay, if I want to go buy a full golf course,
I would say theoretically there is no difference.
yeah,
Because the subconscious mind can't tell the difference. It can't tell the difference between a video game and physical reality. So the subconscious mind doesn't know. But I think that consciously it's what you're buying into.
right. Is depression basically a bunch of fears?
I don't think so. Depression's a big momentum thing.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Depression is mostly belief tree work um, and momentum. A lot of people with depression, it's about clearing the beliefs that make them fearful of letting go of the depression.
yeah, I had that. 52 minutes.
Cool.
Anyone, any more questions?
Any questions? Let's hot seat somebody. I mean, we can't bring them on the call, but
Mm.
anything you guys want to talk about? Hear about?
They're done. We must have been really engaging today. I felt like that was the whole thing about fear. That was great.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm planning these one-on-one or these one-day seminars.
Yeah,
We've got a one-day seminar strictly on transmuting dense energies, emotions, fears, which is amazing. We've got another one that I'm working on called what is it? It's all on events.nickbro.com, but it's about stepping out of the lack cycle, which is such a generational thing. Um, Getting people out of their cycles of lack and into overflow, which is such a fun topic. The circulating energy, circulating money is part of that.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing fun things to teach.
People really like this fear topic. I hate any fear because it could stop you in your progress, but I feel it from time to time. I think that it's important for me to be aware of your fear and fight against it. Fight against it.
I think it's fears don't hold you back. Giving into the fears hold you back, right?
Right.
So when a fear surfaces, it's about excuse me, it's about allowing yourself to sit in it, look at it, and like, okay, where did this fear come from? Do I need to fear this fear? Right? Can I process it? Can I let it go? Right. So all fear is just another form of perception.
Right. I skipped this earlier. I forgot. Will you be in Amsterdam on June 2024?
I don't
For
know. It's
Abraham.
June. I like being here at the beach in the month of June. But if enough people wanted us to come to Amsterdam, I mean, I would, to be honest, in May when we were there for Abraham-Hicks, that was probably like my 13th ish, 13, 14, 12, something like that. Hot seat. And like, it was just okay. I get so much more out of Onyx channelings because she gets more specific. It feels more leading edge to me.
Mhm.
I would be more inclined to go to Amsterdam if a whole bunch of people would get together for some Onyx seminars or some seminars with me, and we would again throw a massive after party afterwards and have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Film romanticize uninterested partners, igniting desire lack. Have you struggled letting go of toxic drama due to fear, healthy, loving relationships becoming boring over long term?
I mean, I've been with Onyx for 11 years, over 10 years, and there's nothing boring or laxing or toxic or drama or anything. So I think the belief that things are going to go sour long term is just a perception to work through.
Yeah, see, I have a common thing. We were talking about this the other day. And like I said, I mean, we argued last night, but that's part of the fun too. Like it just the like somehow love grows and grows and grows. I guess I never imagined that. Like my parents are always together, and maybe their love grows and grows and grows, but it just didn't feel like this. It's
Yeah.
wild. So it's very possible. Any advice on integrating aspects? Integrating parts of yourself that you don't like.
Yeah, I mean, learn to love them, right? Look at the perceptions that are fueling the dislike. So I don't like this because, or I feel this way about myself because, and then go a little bit deeper in that belief tree.
I wonder if she's almost saying like you turn it into a strength. Does it become that after you do that?
I mean, if you turn a negative perception into a positive perception, yeah, then absolutely it becomes a strength.
Not even like a requirement, but it probably does, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
What questions do you ask yourself each morning to see where your highest excitement? Where is your highest excitement? How about that?
Sometimes,
Stop there.
sometimes I stop and ask myself, what am I most excited? I think from that vantage point, you're approaching it from the mental versus like more the inner guidance. So like I think that there's the things that are mental body, inner critic, human side of us are excited by. And then there's this parts, there's the source self excitements. Some are the same, or they'll share some excitements, obviously. So I would say it's not about mentally asking what excites me, but it's like, what's the impulse that I have in this moment?
Yeah. Yeah. How often do you feel that changes throughout, you know, your day, like or day to day for you? Are you pretty consistent?
You mean the things that if the things
Sure.
that are
Sure.
consistent?
Sure.
No, I think it's a little bit all over the place. I
Okay,
mean, like
yeah.
building a sauna was an excitement that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and the other
Uh,
day, like you said, making a bunch of food, you made a bunch of lasagna. Probably
yeah, yeah,
equally as exciting.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think Bashar teaches and talks about the formula of highest excitement, which is to, of all things available to you, always do the thing that's most exciting. I think the word excitement is a little strong there.
Okay.
I prefer to swap the word excitement for best feeling impulse.
Yeah. I mean, excitement's a better word. You gotta say that.
Yeah,
Best
but it's
feeling
like it
impulse.
depends on how your impulses feel.
All right. I like the word excitement. You think excitement's too much? You have a bad relationship with that word?
No, but in any given moment, like right now, my highest impulse might be to go take a nap.
Sure.
Well, I would never consider a nap to be exciting,
Right.
right? So people get confused in this formula of following your highest excitement because there are going to be moments where there is nothing that is exciting. That's okay, right?
Okay.
Doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It's about, well, what's the best feeling thing, the best feeling impulse right now?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. My fear is towards uncertainty and unpredictability when your business depends on other people's actions. That's
But
interesting.
other people's actions are still a reflection of your own vibration.
Yeah. We'll go into that.
So your reality, you are the center of your reality. So all of your reality is going to match the vibration you're practicing. So those 10 people that your business depends on, there's multiple parallel realities with different outcomes from those 10 people. And the version of those 10 people that you experience are the versions that match the vibration that you're practicing.
Do you find yourself like less willing to fire people at that point because you're inserting them into yourself?
I don't think I've ever fired anybody.
Sure. But
Um, I
let's go our
think if I
separate ways.
I think if I had somebody that was working for me, it's either they feel aligned or they don't feel aligned.
Right.
And if they didn't feel aligned, then I would not have the integrity to not keep them on if it didn't feel right.
Right. Like you'll be happier if we'll go our separate ways and we'll both be happier this way. It's like an agreement instead of a firing. Look at people are into this Europe thing.
Yeah.
Amsterdam or wherever in Europe.
Yeah. I mean, if people want us to come do seminars where you live, and if you've got a bunch of people enough for us to pay our, enough for us to sell tickets enough to break even, we're there.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants us to come visit you guys and do some channeling and do some breakthrough work, send me an email, nick@nickbreau.com, and we'll see where we can take it.
I think it's interesting. I like the idea of like latching on to an Abraham thing and doing your after party and having maybe a session the next day or something like that, because there you are attracting all those people. It's already baked in.
Yeah, yeah. I think the my resistance to the upcoming Abraham one is that it's in June. And for us living on the beach here, only having like 4 nice summer months, we like to be on our beach here in June. May is nicer. We like to travel from like I would say mid end of September until May, mid end of May. That's kind of our travel window for us.
Were you guys born? Were you born where you live, or you moved
But
there?
I was born 2 hours away. Nick was born 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just can't imagine wanting to be that cold.
But you know what? Like, so you saw the pictures of the forest playground that I showed you this morning.
Yeah, it was cold.
Would it?
I saw cold.
It wouldn't excite you to walk through this beautiful,
Okay, fine.
mature forest. Did you watch the video with the streaming brook and everything?
Yeah, I've got beautiful, mature forest and 20 degrees warmer weather.
Yeah, we'll get you like a fleece jacket or something.
No, I ain't flying up there. All right. Oh my gosh. Oh shoot. There's so many. Where are these events? Can't see them on your website.
The ones right now are just local here, but they're at events.nickbreau.com. It's a new
Did
page.
you plan? Are you planning on broadcasting them?
No. These are strictly in person.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 new pages that aren't linked from the official website. There's events.nickbro.com, where I'm starting to kind of put details about the live stuff we're planning. And then there's health.nickbro.com, where I talk a little bit about this new digestive enzyme that I've been taking that completely transformed my life.
Oh, you're an all buster. Oops. What about when you started a project and you lose excitement on you lose excitement on it, you don't want to abandon the project. That's a good point.
You can go focus on other things and then come back to it when the energy comes back. What I find a lot of people do is they only work on one project at a time and they put all their energy and focus on that one project all the time, and you end up crushing like the receptivity. You're better off having 4 or 5 projects, because when you're working on one project you're off the topic of the other one, so it's kind of like it opens up the receptivity for things to happen a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think I noticed with you, it's like sometimes the thing goes away and that's fine, and then
Yeah,
it's from that last thing that enter this new one.
if it goes away, that's the path of least resistance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing you do, because you've done like, power manifesting. Now it's School of Expansion, and it'll be, I know it'll be something and something and something.
Yeah,
Just
and I've
keeps
got
going.
they've told me there's another book waiting to be written, downloaded anytime I want, and I've already got a beautiful, most amazing book title ever titled.
Oh,
But like I haven't been in a floater rate yet, and that's
yeah.
okay. Right?
I was going to suggest you should do a thing about fear, because it's definitely a hot topic here. We should talk about fear every week.
You could, but I mean,
People would love it.
why fear? Right?
Yeah,
Once
right.
you understand the true meaning and integrate the notion of why fear is 90% gone out of your reality or better.
It was fascinating to see how many people wanted to talk about it, though. Like, I would think that certain other things, but I guess it's an all-encompassing kind of resistance, right?
Yeah, I
Is
think
fear resistance?
most people have fear in one way or another. Oh yeah, fear is absolutely
Yeah, I mean,
resistance.
but
You
as
can
far
tell
as
by
is
how
resistance fear, are they the same?
I think fear, the way I would say it is fear is a form of resistance.
Yeah.
So anything that makes your body tense up and contract is resistance.
Yeah. Any fears about starting your business?
No, why? Why fear?
Right.
I want to start it, and it's either going to be fun and exciting and progressive, or it's going to crash and burn.
But I would say that you probably had felt those back in the day, but you've been doing quite a while.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in startup world, I was probably laid off like 3 times from companies that went under. But every time every time I was laid off, I got a bigger and bigger severance package and moved on to a job where I was making more money. So it was never a bad thing.
Yeah. Coming out of Scorpio season, which is about releasing and transmuting fears.
There you go.
There it is. That's why.
What's in the next season, Nick? Maybe she'll do up a report for the School of Expansion like she usually does. Oh, we're in Ophiuchus now.
Yeah. So what do we do about that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to conjure dreams.
Oh yeah, she told me you were having fun with that.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, well, because I finally the other day, because mostly it, like I was saying, it's always been like very primitive dreams, like hypersexualized or hyper violent. It's one of those two things. And I think a lot of that was coming off cannabis. But now
Yeah.
they're chilling out. Like I had a conversation the other day in a dream.
Well, it's interesting. So last night I had the TV on and Nick was sleeping next to me. So she was like, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. So I put headphones on, put the TV on. And there's this like not Hunger Games, Squid Games. There's this Netflix Squid Games reality show. And like, have you watched it?
I've seen the commercials, sure.
So like all of these 200 participants are like on edge, like they're gonna literally die. It's like the nerves, like I could barely watch it because I could tell it was screwing up my adrenals.
Yeah.
And like, so this morning, Nick wakes up and she was like, "Oh, I slept horribly." It's almost like I went to sleep with this like unsettling feeling, and I have no idea where it came from. And she had a blindfold on. She couldn't hear it because I had headphones on. So she was energetically picking up on what I was watching on TV.
Wow.
So now I know I've got to be more mindful of what I watch before bed. Because
But do you enjoy it?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, stuff that get my adrenals going, I don't enjoy anymore. Like I used
so that
to
was the
play,
thing with Abraham, always would talk about that. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, why put yourself in this emotional environment if it makes you feel the wrong emotion, right?
Yeah, I mean, my kids love it. My kids love horror movies. I can't stand it.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I'm getting there. I'm finding that the horror is where it's all at. It's so much more fun.
Like your connection is first, it's your heart and your adrenals, right? So like I see how adrenals impact my sleep, my connection to source, all of this stuff. And it's like, that's where even spiritual people are don't understand the importance of grounded and having a relaxed nervous system and all of these things, because these are the things that really impact your connection to source.
Yeah. And on that, I think we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, we're like almost 10 minutes over time.
We went over. It was great. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Great chat. Thanks for showing up, everybody. And again, if you want to plan an event or want to reach out about anything, just kick an email off nick@nickbreau.com. I promise if Nick Caldwell's involved, I'll share it with him too.
Yeah. I'm not going to Canada. See ya.
Yet.
Right. All right.
Thanks for playing. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.